So on Wednesday, the 8th of May 2019, Fudge passed away. It was not unprovoked. She was getting quite old and she was very ill at the time, so I see why it happened. The reason why it's taken so long for me to put the news out here on YouTube is because, well, there's been a lot to deal with over the past week. Not just with that, there's been other things not necessarily related to this that I've been having to work out and deal with over the last week. So now that I'm finally here, I can get the news out and sort of explain a little bit more into why it happened, how it happened, exactly the whole sort of situation. If you follow me on social media, or if you follow Fudge's Instagram page, then you would have already heard the news on the day it happened. But if you haven't been keeping up with that, this is the whole situation as a whole. Fudge turned 2 on the 16th of January 2019. And we knew that her time would soon be up because 2.5 to 3 is usually the age for hamsters to die. Over the next few months, she started not coming out of her cage anymore. She moved all of her bedding area downstairs so she didn't have to climb the tubes. We barely saw her anymore. She just stayed in her little bedding area for hours and hours, day and night. It really started to get to the point around early April, end of March sort of time, that her time was really starting to run out. Her fur started to fall out, although not in completely noticeable amounts. She started deciding not to do things anymore, like tidy up after herself, wash herself, so there's a certain definite change in that. She started falling over a lot. She was walking quite strangely. It always looked like she was in a little bit more pain every single day, and we didn't like that at all. In the end, on Tuesday the 7th of May 2019, that evening I went in to go and feed her, and she was on the floor, blood coming from her face, like nearly passed out. She couldn't move, she was paralysed, literally lying on the floor in the middle of her cage, well, dying. As you can imagine, I stressed out quite a bit, but then I decided that I was going to have her on my lap, wrapped up in a flannel and some bedding in a box, so I can just sort of comfort her until she eventually goes. But it never happened. We didn't know what it was at the time, but every now and again she started moving like this from side to side quite vigorously, and obviously, as you can imagine, I was quite worried, but she was hanging in there. She was really hanging in there. She never did die that evening, and we left her on a table next to my bedside that evening, wondering if she'd make it through the night. We expected that she wouldn't, that when we woke up she would no longer be on the earth, but rest assured she was still breathing, and it was very light, slow breathing, but she was still breathing. Bear in mind that I wasn't feeling particularly well this week either. Despite that, I was taking a few days off school at the time. I didn't feel that good. And that was before any of this actually started. Although I was feeling a little bit better on Wednesday, so I did go into school, and I came back, looked in her little box that she was still in, mind you, and she was still alive. She kept coming up, she kept trying to get out and say hello to us, but she could not move her back legs. She could move her front two, and she could come up and move her head, but it was a lot of effort. Obviously, we noticed it was a lot of effort. Eventually, we booked an appointment with our local vet, which we've taken her to twice to get her teeth clipped, and we said to him what's happened, and it turned out that her side-to-side movements, she's having seizures. There was some sort of damage in the brain, maybe a brain bleed. We couldn't quite work out what was happening, but in the end the news was she had to be put down. It was very sad, not just for me, but for all my family, as we had her for those 2 years, and we loved her, we cherished her, we loved having her in our home, and it becomes sort of a regular occasion to go and see her every evening, take her out for a little bit. But that was all about to end. And as you can imagine, it was especially quite hard for me because I literally picked her up, said my final goodbyes, gave her a little kiss and walked out, and that was it. The vet came out into the lobby where she was still in her little box, and that was the end. We placed her in her cage in her box now that she was passed away for around the next 3 days, and on Saturday we buried her outside in our garden with a sunflower, which represents growth. And I chose a sunflower because her memory will always be growing. And especially if you followed her on Instagram and kept up with all her photos and things, you'll know that she had a lot of personality. Although personally I was prepared for this, I didn't cry very much, and it's all sort of phased around in my head now, so that's good. That's one of the main reasons I've hesitated to making this video, and why it's come out so much later than I wanted it to. It's because I didn't want it to really be a whole me coming up to the camera crying for hours and all that. I wanted it to be more of a celebration of the joy and happiness that she's brought to us and to you if you've watched the videos that she's been in, and to all the people who are on her Instagram, all of that. So that's good to bear in mind. On the same day that we buried her, my parents bought me this, which is a nice little tree for photos, which they filled with pictures of Fudge from her Instagram. And they also got me this book, which they got from the photo shop, which is a physical representation of every single post that I posted on Fudgy's Photos account on her Instagram, and it goes right up to the last photo that I posted, which was this one, which was the same week before she died. We also took a photo of her just before we took her into the vet for her to be put down, but she was in a very bad state, so I'm not going to be showing anyone publicly on Instagram or YouTube. That's not going to be, you're not going to see that photo. It's just for us, for a personal remembrance of those last few days. And just in the spare of time, I've decided to whack together a little montage of photos and videos that she's appeared on this channel and on her Instagram and my Instagram, for everyone to sort of remember her dearly. If you want to look back on some of the photos, you can look at Fudge's Instagram, my Instagram, or my Facebook there. And more information will be getting to you soon. I don't know when I'm going to start loading videos on a regular schedule again. There'll be more information on that soon, but because lately, to be honest, my uploads have been a bit all over the place, and I can only picture them becoming even more over the place after now. But stay tuned, because there's some really good stuff planned as always. I've got some more VR stuff coming, a big surprise for VR coming soon actually, so stay tuned, and bye for now everyone. Enjoy the montage. Bye. Bye bye Fudge star. Nice and sturdy down there.
Fudge, who brought us so much joy in her life, has now died. Her happy times in our family's embrace have come to an end, and we will miss Fudge. As we remember Fudge's name, may we love each other more dearly, and may we care for all your creatures and every living thing on earth. As we, protected by the blessed life of Fudge, may her memory bless our lives, with love and caring forever. I will now fill the hole.
Just push it now.
Oh, now I've got to push it down.
Make it so it faces this way. Press right here.
Right, well, it's just...
Okay. Can I turn it off now?
Oh, and I want to show you something. Yay, this is my hamster that I've been keeping secret for like 8 months. I've had her for around 8 months. So yeah, her name is Fudge. She's almost a year old. Fudge, the hamster, is getting an Instagram account. Very much going to be photos of Fudge. now. You're officially an old lady now.